Greetings, greetings, welcome. Come on in, come on
Monsieur
in.
will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Alafia, divine, all blessed. Another edition of Revolutionary Voodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Come on in, come on in. The fire is hot, the water is a-boiling. Come on in, welcome, greetings and salutations. It's a new day. It's a new day. Come on in, it's a new day. Welcome, 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 Justice. Greetings, divine, all blessed. Welcome, Blog Talk Radio, 845-277-9143, 845-277-9143. Welcome, welcome with your questions, comments, requests. It's another day. It's another day. Come on in. Greetings, greetings, and salutations. Alafia. We've been moving some things around. We've been pushing some things forward. Come on in. Come back home to Africa. The fatted calf and golden rain are waiting for you once again. Coming back to you. I'm longing for my family. Coming back to you. Out of bondage and now I am free. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da da da. Come on in, Alafia. Greetings, greetings. Welcome. Welcome, Sylvia Bell. Welcome. Greetings, beloved. Your Royal Highness. Come on in. Come on in. Last days of summer. 8,000. Come on in. Come on in. Greetings and salutations. Greetings. Black power and respect. Come on in. Come on in. Andreka Holmes, welcome, greetings, greetings. Come on in, come on in. Welcome, welcome. Alafia and divine, all blessed. Greetings and salutations. You are now sitting live with the Divine Prince. Eshu Aleguana Kosi Weri Awo Unlo Utoni Iwo Ada Afambo Osi Obatalami Itane Ibo, Onelio Aban Eshu. Eshu is the respected elder who flogs, confronts, and uncovers fools. That one versed in mysteries uses truth to own you. He causes scatter to feed poverty. Hobatala shakes rascals to have sacrifice. The owner of warnings is the one who is Eshu. Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Ashe. May our Ebo reach our rune. May our Ebo be accepted. May our Ebo allow what we desire to come to pass. And so we say, Asheo. Divine, all blessed greetings and salutations, elevation, relevations, and manifestation. You are now sitting and standing live with the Divine Prince, Pan-African spiritualist, practitioner, author, and advisor, Elagun Oloye Hoodoo Obeya Bokur, sharing with you in all things spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, cosmic, evolutionary, revolutionary, healing, and holistic from a Pan-African Hoodoo world spiritualist perspective, understanding that all is a blessing. If you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test and a challenge and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. This is indeed my constant prayer, my mantra, affirmation, reverberation, reiteration, and it is my ever-living reality. It is crucial to the very foundation of my inner standing, my being, my walk, my work along this divine, all-blessed life path and journey. And it is how I, the Divine Prince, make sense out of all that we're challenged with here in our daily existence on Mother, Father Earth. It is my personal place of power and inner standing, the place from where I begin, the place from where I realize and crystallize all my endeavors, understanding that I and I alone create and co-create my divine destiny, and I alone create and co-create my divine, all-blessed reality. And so it is. Ashe. Greetings, everyone. Everyone, I'm so happy to see so many people now with us live in the chat and on my phone lines at area code 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143 is my listen-in and call-in number, your mic, if you will. But you can also join us here live on screen, on video, if you have the equipment and the technology. Kiona and I invite you to follow the link that will be presented again on the screen at some point. That will give you access to come in and be a part of the show. For my regular viewers, I love you and appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. For my new viewers, listeners, and participants, I love you as well. I'm grateful for you as well. And I invite you now into my sacred space, but also this shared sacred space of gods and goddesses, this squared circle of conscious deities. And I welcome you in. I've made some adjustments. Some of my regular viewers, you notice some changes. Not only am I standing, I've got to get out of this chair. I cannot do hours of divination every day. I can't do hours of consultation every day. I can't do a 3-hour broadcast every day and sit in that chair. It's not good for my health. And I advise you as well, it's not good for you. If you're still not working, if you're still shut in, if you're still locked in, if you're still staying clean and staying at home, remember, you got to move around, you got to exercise, you got to stand, you got to walk. And you might have to be creative based on what you have available and where you are, where you live. But it's not that expensive. I created my own elevated desk, with a Walmart folding table and a milk crate and a two-ply board, and my computer is on top. My keyboard is on top, and I can now stand and move around and be less sedimentary, not just in this season, but as I move forward in the ministry. I've told you all that things are happening with Voodoo. The ancestors don't play. My ancestors don't play. And be not fooled for one moment. Your arms are too short to box with my ancestors. Okay. So indeed, things are growing, things are developing twofold. So not only am I in the middle of doing ancestral work and divination, doing initiations and consultations, but we're expanding, we're growing. So I'm physically, literally having to move things right now. And so that's why you see a little bit of a difference. Things are a little bit more white up in here than what you are used to seeing. Again, I am standing, I am elevated, and from here on out, I'm either going to do the show standing or on the move, in the act of doing ceremony, in the act of doing ritual. Indeed, the best usage of the space will be had. The ceremonies will happen again. In-house clients and in-house godchildren will indeed happen again. And we'll be ready for you. We'll be ready for you. We'll be prepared. Our next major ceremony, whenever the ancestors allow that to happen, whenever Mawo Lisa allows that to happen, whether it be in the fall or in the spring. But the next major ceremony will be just that, major. I am still interviewing and talking to and building relationship with practitioners who will ultimately become a House of the Divine Prince, Thai Potions, and Hoodoo Central. As professional, expert, spiritualists, practitioners, healers, healers, if you will, Ianifa, Balalao, ministers, but they will be professional. They will be vetted. They will be initiated. I don't know if I said that before and made that clear. The practitioners will indeed be initiated. It'll be very hard for you to work in the house, work in the ministry, work within ceremony and not have the foundation for the ceremony. So of course I am pulling from my godchildren first. I'm pulling from my initiates first. I'm pulling from those who are doing ancestor work and divination and spirituality and religion and other advanced study courses and initiations with me in this present moment in time space. So I want to be clear about that. And I accept all invitations, all invites. I've got a few by email. Please forgive me, I haven't had a moment to really sit down. While I'm trying to avoid sitting down, I haven't had a moment really to sit down and sort of address that while I move forward with the work and expansion of the physical temple space. So I'm grateful for the move of the Most High. I'm grateful for the move of Olo Damare in Yoruba. I'm grateful for the move of Mawo Lisa in Fan. I'm grateful for the move of the Most High and our ancestors, for those of us who are truly and indeed committed to spirit, to spirit. And it's more than just being committed to spirit. Spirit includes the Most High, includes your ancestors, it includes the demonstration for which we represent spirit here and now in this present moment in time space. Listen, I don't have time, I don't have the patience to wait for you to sprout your angel wings in heaven. We're trying to do some things, heal some things, fix some things, repair some things, move things forward, and create an environment, a healthy soil, if you will, for voodoo and ATR, traditional African religious culture and tradition, to survive and be self-sufficient moving forward. You hear both myself and my sister Wapani talk often about being self-sufficient, being able to feed yourself, being able to gather water for yourself, being able to harvest meat if you eat meat for yourself, to be able to fish for yourself. And this is not just a personal blueprint. This is a blueprint for living an indigenous lifestyle. This is a blueprint for living a green lifestyle. This is a blueprint for living a healthy lifestyle. And so we must be more self-sufficient. Greeting, I'm Nyla in the Trade Tour. Welcome, beloved. How is Florida? Welcome, welcome. Greetings, beloved. Peace and blessings. Yeah, we must be more self-sufficient, self-reliant, and then action-oriented, result-oriented. I specialize in results, difficult and blocked situations of every type and endeavor. So I'm not squeamish about blocks. I'm not fearful about sickness. I'm not fearful about imbalance. I am, however, very impatient for any spirit, jinn, demon that might be preventing that from moving forward. And so, depending on where you are in the road, depending on where you are in the work, let's come together. Now is the time. Now is the time. Nylan, I watched your video. Now is the time. Now is absolutely the time to not only proselytize and prophesy and preach and talk and rap and lyric, but to put those things into action, put those things into motion. And it's not just dependent on the wealthy. It's not just dependent on the well-connected. It's not just dependent on the celebrities who are often grasping from our ideas, grasping from our words, grasping from our movements that we project out there into the social media stratosphere without understanding the gravity, the seriousness of who and what we are. Each and every one of you are walking ministry. Each and every one of you are walking business. Each and every one of you are a walking institution that just needs to be planted, fertilized, developed, and pushed forward. Yes, it can be complex. I've had to learn things. Oh my God, I had to learn things about law and taxes and jurisdictions and rules and regulations and all those things that really govern how we operate in legitimized industries, spirituality and religion, holistic health and wellness and healing, retail establishments. And no, I'm not opening up no retail store. This extra space won't be used for that. There will indeed be a store here, but only for my godchildren, only for my clients, only for my initiates, only for my family and friends and those within the confines of House of the Divine Prince. I'm not about to go commercial. I know that's popular. I know that's trending. I know that's in fashion right now, but I'm not about to go commercial. This increase in space is not to sell stuff. This increase in space is to bring us together in sacred space, literally or figuratively. Because where we can't come together physically, there'll be cameras, there'll be mics, there'll be internet that will still bring us together in this shared, created sacred space. This is a time to act. This is the time to move forward. This is the time to demonstrate what it is that you say you believe, to demonstrate what it is that you understand, and to get in where you fit in, as they say, get in where you fit in. We have our young people out there who are sometimes without guidance, sometimes without mentorship, sometimes, but they're out there. And it's easy to say they're out there on emotion. It's easy to say they're out there on personal stuff. That's a distraction to the movement. That's a distraction to the revolution. These children want change. These young people want change. These adults want change. And I applaud the people of other races, other colors, other ethnicities that are standing out there in front of the dogs, in front of the tear gas. It's about time. It's about time. This will not change without you doing your part. This will not change without me doing my part. This will not change without each and every one of you under the sound of my voice doing your part. Greetings, KK, Divine All Blessed, Hoodoo Occultism, Kayla Taw. Great, come on in, everyone, please. Join the show, join the conversation by way of video, but you can also join me by way of phone at area code 845-277-9143, 845-277-9143. When you're ready with your question, comment, or request, do press the number 1 on your telephone keypad, and I will be more than happy to unmute your mic to bring you in. My invitation to come into the practice, my invitation to become marketable, my invitation to become a part of the brand that has a footprint that's clearly moving, developing, growing. It's not about commercialism. Commercialism might be a side effect. Prosperity might be a side effect. Facial recognition may be a side effect. But this is about ministry. This is about ministry, spirituality and religion, and the active movement of ATR, traditional African religious systems. Oh, my dream is a much bigger space. Oh, my dream is a much bigger building, and a building where, regardless of your ethnicity, we all have ancestors. Ancestors will be present. Ewe will be present. Igbo will be present. Hausa will be present. Yoruba will be present. Akan will be present. Fon will be present, etc. in this shared space. But right now, we're doing it right here. Right here. You've seen me post my stats for geographic reach. We're being listened to in Ghana. We're being listened to in Nigeria. We're being listened to in Israel and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Brazil. We're being viewed and listened to all over the world. All over the world. And people who are actively operating in traditional African-based religious systems, indigenous-based religious systems, are often looking at us as the leader, as the guide, for the trend, for what's in fashion, for what should be moving forward. So much so that we now have the Nigerians mimicking that. We now have the West Africans mimicking that and showing up in your DMs and in your instant messages, offering to feed your ancestors, offering to do things for you that you can't even pronounce or spell. As a direct result of this action, this activity, this space, we don't always talk about it. We don't always bring it forward, but we see, we watch, and I'm not alone. I'm not alone. There are many of us. This House of the Divine Prince is a large group of people. It's a large body of communities globally. And we all stand for the authentic representation of indigenous traditional practice. We understand that things evolve. We get that things move forward. We get that things grow. But we, at the same time, don't have to be party to the continued appropriation, bastardization of our practice, of our tradition. Please forgive me, the electric people are here trying to get the other side of the house together. I will be forward momentarily. Please don't leave me. Just give me a brief moment. Let's see, let's do that. a dead man's sword. It's in the mind. Every woman will put in line. In the very still of night, when folks are asleep, and the devil lingers high, making spirits weep, and the Thank you for your patience. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody stuck in there with me. Oh, I'm so grateful for that. Yes, I still get everything that can be delivered is delivered. And right now, with us expanding, everything that's going on that side of the house, I have to then respond to. So please forgive me. And as always, we never want to move too far ahead without acknowledging the ancestors. Egu mopeo, egu mopeo, egu mopeo, famini alafia, famini ire, famini iwapele, madope pupo, ashe, asheo, ashe. We never want to move forward without establishing honor and respect and acknowledgement for the great ancestors whose shoulders we now stand. And we stand in a particularly unique time to invoke the memory of revolutionary ancestors, to invoke the memory of proactive ancestors, to invoke the memory of civil rights oriented ancestors, and those who did this work before and are not always given credit. I said in a previous show that it's a scaffolding. We cannot say that those who came before us did not do. We cannot say that those who came before us did not complete. But we can say that those who came before us are doing that which they knew to do, that which was available for them to do within their time frame, within their historic place in history. And if it weren't for those Sojourner Truths and those Harriet Tubmans and those Nat Turners and those participants in the Haitian Revolution and the Bois Cayman, there would be no revolution today. Revolution is not a new idea. Activism is not a new state of consciousness. And indeed, it's a lifelong activity. It's a continuous, ongoing, lifelong activity that is then passed on to those who follow, that is then passed on to the next generation. So please invoke those revolutionary leaders, those who got out and took care of business, those who could not remain silent, those who could not just stand back and watch and wait and anticipate. We must always recognize them. But we also must recognize our own ancestors, our own great-greats, great-great-grandmothers and grandfathers, and those who laid the foundation that we, in this African-oriented spiritual space, could be who we are today. And for my American audience, please don't overestimate the power of your liberty. Don't overestimate what's available to us, particularly as it relates to religion. We have listeners who live in parts of the world where you have to adhere to the government religion. We have listeners on some of my voice right now who have to follow the dominant religion in their part of the world, in their community. It could still cost you death. Remember the Chibok girls? It could still cost you kidnapping, bastardization, rape, appropriation, murder. So never underestimate the value of the liberty that we have in the West. I don't care what your opinions and your feelings are about the politics of America and the government of America and the president of America, but know that we have a unique opportunity in this place to grow and further develop African-based religious systems in a way that is not even happening on the continent right now. When I look at my cousins in Ghana, my cousin in Nigeria, when I talk to my family each and every day, I'm hearing God. I'm hearing Allah. I'm hearing Jehovah. I'm not hearing the invocation of ancestors. I'm not hearing the invocation of that came before. And when we look at very specific locations in West Africa, we now see a tourist commercial economy forming around Ifa and other indigenous practices. And so now you have tourists paying to come over and be a part of that experience. But we're not supporting that at the root, at the foundation. And so this is new ground. The internet is new territory where we all can come together and further the causes that we say we support, that we say we love, that we say we truly and indeed believe in. And so we have an opportunity to be very beneficial to our African and indigenous brothers and sisters all over the world, just as much as we've benefited from the appropriation often and the bastardization often of their traditions, of their practices, of their way of viewing God and acting within God. Greetings, everyone. Listen, I'm not going to be with you long. As I said, I'm in the middle of a move, literally. Right now, I'm in the middle of a move, and I do have other appointments today. So please bring your questions or comments or requests. I invite you to come on screen with me. Let me put up that banner. Yes, here we go. I believe, yes, there we go. It's streaming along the bottom of the screen. You can follow that link. Let me copy and paste it and pop it in again, if you will. And I will be more than happy to bring you into the show. In coming days and coming shows, we're going to be much more interactive, and particularly to what I would call or consider a quiet audience. If I'm not getting active chats, active comments, active questions, I consider it a quiet audience. You all are enjoying the moment, and I appreciate that. But I'm also here to motivate action. I'm also here to motivate activity. I'm also here to activate and motivate us actually doing real things, real, tangible, reliable, consistent, practical things within the scope of ATR, within the scope of conjure and root work and hoodoo and voodoo that are empowering, that are reliable, that last beyond just some moment of temporary excitement and emotion. This cannot be another moment of temporary excitement and emotion. This has sparked worldwide activity. And I'm grateful to be in one of the more peaceful cities. We're active, we're protesting, we're getting it in, we're doing the work, but we're one of the more peaceful cities, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm also not in any way going to deny or disparage those who are active in the process. Until we give them a scaffolding to work with, until we give them a plan to work with, until we give them some clear goals to establish and to move forward, we can't judge. You can't sit in your armchair and judge armchair revolutionary. You can't sit in your chair and judge white supremacist, racist. You can't sit in your armchair and judge evangelical Christian, Republican, conservative. You can't sit behind the supposed comforts of your armchair anymore while this gravity of action is happening on our planet. Oh my goodness, Sagittarius. Y'all talk about Sagittarius. You know, we got a calamity going on, a health calamity going on. And then we have a food shortage, a toilet paper shortage happening. And then we have police shootings and Breonna Taylor being murdered in the street, you know. And so now we have this active revolution that's all around us. You all are waiting for a revolution that's already in motion. You all are waiting on a leader and a platform that's already established. There will be no more Malcolm X's. There'll be no more Dr. Kings. There'll be no more Marcus Garvey's, there'll be no more, there'll be no more, there'll be no more. It's now time to hear from Black women. It's now time to hear from those on the fringes, those on the margins of our community. We can't keep saying white supremacy, racism, sexism, without addressing that within the confines of our own communities, without addressing that within the confines of our own houses. The domestic violence rate right now is ridiculous, ridiculous. The amount of requests and calls and concerns and prayers that I'm dealing with right now as it relates to domestic violence is just off the charts. I'm grateful for the work and the foundation that my mother and my sister Wapani have laid and established in addressing women's issues and domestic violence. But I'm also grateful for the opportunities that I continue to have to be active in those arenas, to move things forward in those arenas. Now is the time. We hear about unemployment rate number from, I guess, from May, and so people are hopeful. But understand, we still have a window open. Babalu Oye says he still can push this thing back. And we still can see a resurgence of this coronavirus in our community. We must talk about ethnicity. Black men are dying in the highest number. Black people are dying in the highest number. People of color are dying in the highest number. We must. And while all this action and activity and motivating political actions that draw people out into the street, that cause people to run out and be active in the street, we have to be careful. We have to be practical. We have to be still. And so for my elders, I'm begging you to be still. If you're 50 and over, I'm begging you to be still. Let the young folk go and get it. Let the youngsters go and get it. Let the 20s and the 30-somethings that are healthy and hygienically sound, let them go get it. Because if they're 30 and healthy, but they're not hygienically sound, then what's the point? What's the point? But let them go get it. Let them be active in the street. We still must wait some time to figure out what's happening here. Arisha is asking, can I speak about the law of causation, karma, as it relates to the worker? Oh, that's a really good question. Oh my goodness, I'm also going to talk about Bebe magic for Hoodoo occultism. Hoodoo occultism, if you will, let me answer Arisha first, and then I'm going to come back to Bebe magic. Because I can do a whole show on the law of causation and karma. It's deeper than what you do comes back to you. Because if it was that simple, and you're good to your family, you're good to your coworkers in the office that you share. Maybe you're good to the cashier at your local grocery store, but then you might be overlooking other people in your life, other people in your community, other people in your environment. I often describe law of causation, well, not describe it, but compare it to cigarettes, commercial cigarettes. And so you might say, well, I smoke, it's my problem, it doesn't affect the next person, it's a personal thing. But we now have science that backs up secondhand smoke is just as deadly, if not more so, than the person who smokes. But then there's that cigarette butt. So we don't think about that part. That cigarette butt doesn't break down, does not break down to weather like other items. It has a great degree of plastic and other artificial matter in it that prevent it from breaking down. So those cigarette butts will be in your water forever, will be in our ground forever, will be in our earth forever, until they come up with some way of sending it out in space, I guess. So causation, karma, it's deeper than just, I'm minding my business and I'm doing good. How well are you doing inwardly? How much is karma and the law of causation active in your personal inner world? And how closely do we often pay attention to that? I started noting that, Arisha, when I was in my 20s. And I saw patterns from keeping journals, from writing stuff down and keeping journals. I began to note patterns. So much so that I now have a whole philosophy around it, the law of causation and karma and how that works. We all have to give. First, you have to give you have to give it away to keep it. We hear that in 12-step rooms. You have to give it away to keep it, but you also have to give it in order to feed it. So it's more than just doing good, doing right, but checking your intention, checking your motivation behind what you do. Tin Marie has a real popular song, Deja Vu. I've been here before. Thank God I'm not coming back here no more. And so I was what, 14, 15, I think, when that song came out. And so it shifted my attitude about not only karma, but reincarnation and the connection with that to karma. Because again, it's not just I do good, I did right by my spouse, I did right by my children, I did right by my parents and those within my immediate circle. We're disconnected from our past lives, our past actions. Some of you are disconnected from your past, even in this present reality. You don't know who you offended as a child. You don't remember who you might have offended as a teenager, particularly if you're 50, 60, 70. Some of you didn't cross some people, co-workers, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and you done went on. And it's gone from your memory, out of sight, out of mind. But then your children and your grandchildren running into problems with the police, running into problems with each other, killing, murdering, within the community. And we say, oh my God, where did they get that? We say, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't create that. I didn't teach them how to do that. My child didn't. But then but they mimic that from somewhere. And so that comes from TV. It comes from our parents. It comes from our peers, as we grow up and go through school systems and go through organized educational systems, enter the job pool. There's sort of this hidden molding that takes place. And you mold into the environment in which you are in. So many of you work a job where you can't bring your religion to work. You might not be able to dress the way you want to. You might have to wear a uniform or be conservative, in your dress. So you're separating parts of yourself. You're doing things that are outside of your normal trajectory, if you will, of daily activity. And your spouse might, your not your spouse, your employer might, your supervisor might, your manager might require you, ask you to do something that you might not ever do in your normal life, in your personal life. And I don't necessarily mean break a rule or cross the line, but you might be working in a business, that might not necessarily line up with your values, might not necessarily line up with who you are each and every day. And so we learn to wear these masks when we go out in public. And there is indeed karma attached to that. The things that we say, the things that we don't say. Those inner conversations that we have with ourselves and with spirit, emits an energy that also affects our karma and the idea of causation. Because when I get into what we say, the creation and recreation of our reality, even that inner language that might be negative affects causation, affects what comes back to you from the universe, affect what the ultimate result might be, in any particular request or idea that you might have, that you're praying for, that you're doing ritual for, that you're burning candle for, that you're pleading with God or the Loa, or the ancestors to move forward. And we say, well, why isn't my prayer getting through? Is it who I am? Is it what I did? Is it what I'm doing? Why isn't my prayer getting through? Why is it looks like bad people seem to have what they want? Seem to. Because again, there's that illusion. We don't often know, we don't often know what's going on behind that. We don't often know what a person sacrificed for that. We don't often know what a person had to give up for that. We don't know how many children die in any particular family, to increase wealth, to increase popularity. See, that's a bit of a salacious topic. That's an uncomfortable topic to even look at. But look at the Kennedys. Look at the Kennedys. Once we called them the royal family of America. But what's with all the death and murder within that family? And we can't say it's just because they're celebrity. We can't say it's just because they're in front of the camera, like a Michael Jackson or a Beyonce. So we would trace everything they do. The media would track everything that they would do naturally. So it might look like, there's a more of occurrence of activity in a celebrity family household than maybe your average American household. But that doesn't explain death and murder and tragic car accidents, lumping together like that in a particular family, in a particular bloodline. Sometimes there is karma and causation that was created and built long before we got here. Even the magical book says, I don't want to quote it directly because I don't think I can right now, but I think it said something about the sins of the parent falling down to the child, trickling down to the child. So there's even in that, you Bible readers, even in that, there is a allusion to what I'm suggesting. That even the sins of the parent, even the bad karma of the parent, the grandparent, the great-grandparent, travels down generationally. So it's real interesting when we hear people say, well, I wasn't alive then, and my parents didn't own no slaves, and my grandmama wasn't no slave master. Perhaps. But I like the way Ellen DeGeneres said yesterday on her show that, and it wasn't her words, it was a gentleman who sits behind her outside in the yard, outside the glass, who said that we are white and entitled. We are white and entitled. And she did say we have benefited from being white and being entitled. They both said that. So there is a generational passing on, if you will, of bad energy, negative energy, unhealed energy, unsolved, unresolved energy that doesn't dissipate, that doesn't go away. It don't vaporize because, time has gone on. It don't die with the person who dies, because we hear that. Oh, well, they're going to take it to the grave. Perhaps. With today's technology, both spiritual technology and other forms of technology, that might not always be the case. But nothing is ever absolute and unto itself. So that energy then is passed on. We think about people who don't have children. When you say, well, I don't have kids, or I have only, my grandmother had one living child, and that's my mother. She had a boy who did not survive, who did not make it. So we might say, well, what happens then with that energy? And then we have to look at, bad things happening to good people, good things happening to bad people. There's too much of a equation of math that's involved in how karma works for us as humans. Part divine, but right now we're limited by our human capacity to really envision that in its totality. We might even look at weather occurrences, and I have as an extension of karma, calamities as an extension of karma. You'll never convince me that Hurricane Katrina and the death of Big Chief Tootie Montana, Yellow Pocahontas, are not connected. You'll never be able to convince me of that. I know, I'm aware of the city council meeting. I know what was said. I know what went down. I know how those Indians chanted when he died in the middle of that meeting. I know what the meeting was about. Removing Super Sunday or limiting it. removing St. Joe night or putting some kind of boundaries on it, removing voodoo as a part of New Orleans culture, as an extension of St. Louis Cemetery, you know. So we've got to be more erudite with our God energy. We all have the ability right now to make changes, to create foundations, to create organizations, to create groups, to create educational systems, to create healthcare systems. We can't keep begging for. We can't keep pleading for. We can't keep demanding for. And I agree with the premise, you know, can we have peace? Is that the same thing as can we have silence? Because peace often, you know, relates to silence. And so many of us sit and suffer in silence. Many of us have dealt with murder and tragedy and sickness and disease in silence. Many of us have dealt with unemployment and economic catastrophes in silence. Now things are out on the surface. Now we're wearing that energy on our chest. So doing good, Orisha, for yourself, but for the right motivations, just like eating. You know, you might say, well, I don't need that extra donut. It's not right for me. It's not good for my health. It's going to elevate my sugar. You know, that kind of discipline. But it takes consciousness. It takes consciousness to be aware that we're not laying down footprints of karma that do show up in causation, that do show up. Greetings, York 2700. No, the revolution will not be televised. We've got to take action. And we cannot continue to do over and over again what we've done before that has not been effective or has not given us the effect or the outcome that we seek. We must continue to do things differently. We must evolve marching. We must evolve protesting. We must evolve our minds so that we are operating in the system and behind the system. And for those of you who don't want any parts of the system, then create one. Create one that we can all participate in. Create one we can all enjoy. Greetings, Black Cotton, greetings. Yes, elders, please be at home. Let the healthy, let the professional, let the delivery people go out, but you don't have to. Thy Marcus Art, greetings, beloved. Greetings. Neophyte Bokur, welcome, welcome. I'm grateful for all my godchildren that are in the room, all my initiates that are in the room, all my students that are in the room. Hey, Tasha Harris, and all the elders and heal hers that are in the room. I'm grateful for you, and I'm honored by your continued support, continued love, you know, continued showing up here at high noon U.S. Central Standard Time in the middle of your day, whatever time it is in your city right now. I'm grateful. I truly am. And we would not be able to grow and develop in the way that we are without a strong community, without support. No one person can do this. No one person can represent Ifa. No one person can represent Voodoo. No one person can represent Orisha. No one person can represent Loa. No one person can represent ancestors. We indeed all have ancestors. But we must allow our leaders to grow, and particularly the leaders that are in our best interest. We're seeing a trend of people coming from outside. And you know, transplants is a big deal in New Orleans. It's a part of the culture of New Orleans to feel some kind of way about transplants. And so I consider myself a successful transplant. But indeed, there are some who aren't transplanting, and they're staying stationary in California, Arizona, Florida, New York, Boston, and they are organizing ATR, Black culture, Black tradition, primarily for commercialism, primarily for themselves. And often they're not reaching out to the grassroots people. They don't honor and respect the people who are on the ground doing the work. And so these people look big to you. They have flashy, shiny pictures, professional, well done photography. They got all the professional equipment, in which to hold their Zooms and their educational conferences and whatnot. And these are still the same people, the same upwardly middle class, educated, degreed, master's degree and doctorate degree individuals that have always operated in our community for self, in the interest of self. We can go back to the 50s, we can go back to the 40s, we can go back to the civil rights movement. We can look at the Urban League, we can look at the NAACP, we can look at some of these high-powered, moneyed, degreed, well-connected, well-educated, middle class and upwardly mobile people of color. And what have they done for us in the last 50 years? What have they done for us in the last 100 years? And so now it's time for you to take a chance on your ancestors. I'm not asking nobody to take no chance on me. I'm asking you to take a chance on your ancestors. Ask my godchildren, ask my clients. Everything is built on the foundation of ancestors here in this house. Everything is built on that. And that's about self-empowerment. That's about self-knowledge. That's about self-love. That's about reconnecting the cables to your traditions, to your truth, to your power sources, to your power centers. And there aren't many that are standing up for this. Everybody wants to be a reader. Everybody wants to do tarot. Everybody wants to be a psychic. Everybody wants to do Reiki. No one wants to take the ministry of ATR seriously. Even when we look at people aspiring to be Babalaos and Ianithas, often they are not operating authentically in the way that we understand Babalaos and Ianithas and Mambos and Hogans are supposed to. And that's at the community level. We're not seeing that. So I invite you to continue to do your work. I'm so honored and pleased right now by those who are doing just that. I get to see the videos, I get to see the photographs, I get to communicate with you on phone. I hear the result-oriented experiences and events that are happening for many people, even right now in the middle of the corona, with the country partly open, partly closed. Even with all of that, I'm expanding. I'm moving forward. I was on Nextdoor yesterday, and the question was asked about, what are you doing? This particular business was shutting down some of their space, was getting rid of half of their staff and their employees. Where at the same time, I see movement. Now, I know some of you out there are in the news, and you heard about that unemployment rate. Who is that? Where is that happening? Who are those people that they're referencing that helped that unemployment rate to increase in the month of May? Who was that? And how many of those people come from our communities? Now, I would like that to be me. And again, I ask you, if you are professional, expert, or you're prepared to be molded for that, I invite you to get in now, to get in now. As we move forward, at each level, we're going to shut the gate. I learn by experience. I learn there's no such thing as a mistake. There's no such thing as a problem. The challenge gives me an opportunity to not have to cross that bridge again. The challenge gives me an opportunity to learn something that I didn't know before. The challenge gives me an opportunity to not get in that scenario with those people and those type of people and those type of situations again. That's the power of the mistake when you're operating in the mantra of all is a blessing. That's the power. So I continue to grow. I continue to move forward. There is no mistake here. There is no problem here that does not further who I am and what the ministry is. and what we really should be doing as it relates to ATR. This ain't about me. Oh, that's problematic for my mama when I say that. This ain't about me. That's problematic for some of my listeners when I say that, because y'all know that I'm not eating. I'm often not sleeping. I'm drinking a lot of coffee. I'm putting a lot of stress on my body, on my life right now for something that will outlast me, for something that will outlast all of us. I don't care if you're 18 right now and you listening to me. I'm planning for when you are 50. I'm planning now for when you are 70. Christopher Martin, I'm planning now for when you are ready to be and to step into this and to embrace this. I don't lose sleep about it, but I often think what happens, heaven forbid, I do make my way into a room. I do transition to the ancestors. What's going to happen with the voodoo? Really? What's going to happen with ATR? Will it then be in the hands of the Botanicas solely? Not on my watch. I appreciate the Botanicas. The Botanicas have a role. The Botanicas have a job. But the houses have the responsibility for maintaining the tradition. The houses have the responsibility of passing on the tradition. The houses have the responsibility for creating practitioners, readers, healers, healers that can go out vetted into the community. We see that happening in Brazil. We see that happening in Cuba. We see it happening in Nigeria. Is it happening in the US? Is it happening where you are? Is there a time price to pay for those who have success but offer no help to others? That's a question from one of our faithful participants, Chef Bougie. Absolutely. Now, what's tricky about your question is there a time price? Time price, which suggests that you're looking or anticipating it showing up in terms of timing somewhere. And so in some cases, you have some of those who are successful, who haven't helped others. What's the guy's name who locked himself in a hotel room? Was it Herbert Hubert or Howard Hubert? Or help me out, y'all. The wealthy man who locked himself away, lived a long life, kept all his, possessions and earthly material value to himself. How healthy of a life was that for him? And then for any descendant, relative connected to that, there's a great deal of negative energy that would set up in a scenario like that. So there's definitely a price, Chief Bougie. It's not always in our timing, though. The Quran tries to explain God timing. The Bible tries to explain God timing. You even now have science trying to find the God code, if you will, and explain God's timing or divine timing. Those magical books, the Bible, the Quran, say, a day for us might be 1,000 for God. An hour for us might be a second or millisecond, for God. So divine timing is really hard to narrow down sometimes. Sometimes. When it begins to show up in the lower coordinaries, the physical realm, earth, water, fire, air, mind, ether, gas, we then see some, cancer, tumors, sudden aneurysms, people reaching 60 and finding out you had a birth defect from birth. So it's really hard to gauge time in that perspective. Sometimes these people live to be really, really old. And I do believe that there is some voodoo, there is some witchcraft out there that can curse a person to live beyond their years. And you lose track of when they were born and how long they've been alive. There are many myths out there in our community, blues songs written about that. People who might be 1,000 years old, who just look 60, who just look 70, or still look 30, for that matter. So there's the aspect of that that's living beyond what's comfortable for your humanness. And then there's that where it's cut short, where life is cut short, so to speak. But that's just physical, because then that spirit goes on to do in the spirit realm. So if we're talking about justice, if we're talking about revenge, if we're talking about payback, that can show up on many levels that our humanness can limit our ability to see in a moment, in the moment. I've done some work, seen some work, some really concise work too, that allows you to live to see the result of the work. So you can see what divine spirit might, revenge on a person, place, or thing. You might live to see that, to witness that, to have knowledge of it. Sometimes the retributive response from the spirit realm is not visible to you. People suffer and you have no knowledge they suffer. People have health conditions you have no knowledge they have. Or they might be suffering at home with their family, people close to them. So anytime you interject karma and having success and not sharing, not feeding success, there's absolutely a payback. I started saying earlier in the conversation, I may have digressed, that back in my 20s even, I learned that if I didn't give away a certain amount of money, I would lose a certain amount of money. And it was predictable. It was extremely predictable. And many of you are experiencing that. You robbing Peter to pay Paul. Every time you think you done got caught up, every time you think you done got into position, something, your car break down, somebody need dental work that's hella expensive, something else occurs. And so we have to consider that too when we think about what Yoruba call Iwa Pele, balance. Balance character, balance action, balance activity. It also explains to some degree why I'm never too high or too low emotionally. You can never be too hopeful, but you can also never be too willing to analyze and prepare for what might otherwise happen, what might be a negative response. We're in a whole pattern right now in hurricane season for this approaching Cristobal storm. So it could be the worst thing ever, or it could be just a bad water event, and if you're following the map, there's always this cone of activity. Does it go further to the east to Alabama? Does it go further to the west, to Texas? Does it hit New Orleans straight on? And then how much wind, how much rain, how much other actions are part of the ultimate result of that thing. My regular listeners know I love to use weather as a spiritual, symbolic, emblematic sign of how spirit moves, how things can change. So I'm willing to say there's always a price. There's always a price, Chef Bougie. But your ability to see it, map it, document it, that might be a little bit more of a trickier thing. Hoodoo occultism, one of my most faithful, asked me to explain Bebe magic. Bebe magic is about the implementation of spirit into symbols, whether they be written, painted, sewn into place. This is more in line with a traditional, I got to get rid of your question so they can see. Okay, I hit hide, but it's still, okay, it might just be slow. Okay, this is more of a Haitian style voodoo, voodoo bebe. Now my name is in front of it. How about that? So this is more in line with the Haitian style bebe. And so within this is hidden math, geometry, color-coded language that speaks volumes to those who are in the system, in the tradition, and know and understand what's being spoken in the bebe. It's designed to bring physical representation, a place of physical seat, if you will, for a particular deity, power, or force to be activated in ritual work, in ceremonial work. It's not a whole lot different than a cross. It's not a whole lot different than the crescent moon in the five-pointed star that's utilized in Islam to represent the religion or the tradition. It's not very different from that. The difference, I think, is in how much charge is given to it, how much power we give to it. A word for that would be, starts with an A. Oh, wow, it'll come to me. It starts with an A. The word for that would be how we give power to a sign, a symbol, a circle, a cross, a square. And over time, it takes on a life of its own based on cultural belief, cultural representation, experience. So depending on where you are in the world, depending on your experience in the world, the cross means something to you. The square means something to you. The circle has a meaning. Now there are universal meanings that we attribute. For instance, the circle, we say feminine. We say it's wholeness. It represents wholeness. It represents the totality of a particular thing, a particular subject, a particular title. And then we imprint other meaning on it or behind it that become archetypes. That's the word, archetypes unto themselves. So bebes, in a way, are not that much different, hoodoo occultism, than archetypes. They're just physical forms for archetypes, not geographical, geometric forms for archetypes. And then we attribute color, meaning, sign, symbolism, based on what's being said, based on what's being projected. Thank you so much, Orisha. Be coming to see. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for your support. It's been so many people here today. Howard Hughes, yeah, that was Howard Hughes, who locked himself away with all of his wealth, all of his riches. And we definitely can say that he still experienced some things that were visible to us, that were documentable, that ended up in the gossip, that ended up in the news, that ended up in some of the documentaries about who he was. I got a family member whose biggest dream is to, move away to some deserted island, and just live there forever. And I just don't believe humanity was created for that. We were not created to be isolated. We were not created to be so individual that we lose our sense of the circle and our connection to wholeness, our connection to the planet, our connection to nature, our connection to the human family, our connection to the ancestral family. So today is a unique opportunity today to move your greatest ideas forward, your greatest dreams forward. Today, more so than any other time in history, is empowered with an opportunity for us to break strongholds, to break generational curses, to break systems that have been up until this point, and many systems that will be no more after this particular point in time space. We see them bringing back the drive-in, but we also see us advancing new ideas with technology, new ways to come together, new ways to teach, new ways to share, new ways to generate income, new ways to grow businesses. All of these things are a part of what we do at House of the Divine Prince. I don't often talk about it. Sometimes I get here and all you hear me talk about is voodoo and ancestors and Orisha. But we can't do that without talking about self-empowerment, acquiring property, acquiring land, being self-sufficient as individuals, but also as a community. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Crystalline. Thank you so much for being here. Greetings, greetings. I'm trying to get your question up on the screen, Hoodoo occultism. Ogun and Ogun La Flambeau. First of all, Ogun is one of the deities that made the Middle Passage, that made the transatlantic slave disaster, calamity, genocide, if you will. Not just from Yoruba, but from other ethnic groups also brought Ogun. So Ogun is one of those deities that survived. It shows up in the 7 African powers, if you will. Ogun is iron. Ogun is the machete. Ogun is the cauldron pot. Fire is just another element. La Flambeau means flame or fire. And so anytime we introduce fire with a particular deity, it activates some kind of response, some kind of reaction. Some deities you can't have fire around at all. Some deities you can't have smoke around, or they will create fires. And then other deities are empowered within fire. And so we will often light fire to light the way, to light the path, if you will, in darkness, utilizing Ogun. They are brothers, they are counterparts, if you will, of the same power, of the same force, but they are not the same deity. Many of these Loa and Orisha have many personalities, have many characteristics. Sometimes we call them avatars. Sometimes the books call them roads to a particular deity, if you will. But they are unique in how they're fed, how they're placated, how they're called about. And Flambeau is indeed one of those Loa that can burn your house down. If you don't know what you're doing, you can create fires that can't be controlled if you aren't aware of what you're doing and how to operate within the confines of that spirit. Greetings, you all. Greetings, greetings. Greetings, welcome. Let me check my phone lines. No one's called in today. And Kiona is busy, so normally she would be holding down my phone lines. And I am busy too. I'm in the middle of a move, literally in the middle of a move. I'm expanding every aspect of the house, every aspect of the tradition. So that requires some work and some effort. I do have a few appointments for today. And if you're interested in seeing me literally or figuratively, virtually or in real world time, I do require email requests at Divine Prince at houseofthedivineprince.com, Divine Prince at houseofthedivineprince.com. You can also visit my website at www.houseofthedivineprince.com. www.houseofthedivineprince.com. All is truly and indeed a blessing. I'm just overwhelmed right now with joy, with hope, with anticipation about the future. Um, in a time when so many are filled with such anxiety about how they're going to keep the lights on, how they're going to pay their rent, how they're going to continue to keep things moving forward for their children. So I'm grateful that the ancestors would stand up for us and with us now, in such a powerful and mighty way. And I invite you to be a part of the growth, to be a part of the process, to be a part of House of the Divine Prince, Hoodoo Central, moving forward. And let's all grow together. Let's all share together. D.D. Heyman, don't say still, beloved. Still, don't say still. We already got enough of that. Appropriation and stealing. Don't use that word. We're sharing wisdom. We're sharing information. We are sharing our experience in the hopes that others don't have to duplicate our mistakes, in the hopes that others don't have to struggle needlessly, in the hopes that we learn, in the hopes that we all learn and learn from each other. I like to say, I don't have to smoke crack to know crack kills. All you got to do is look at the crackhead, look at the meth head. You know that it killed. So I'm ever amazed at the next generation of addicts, at the next generation of users, and particularly those who are of a mature age. And you see the results of bad behavior. You see the results of negative energy. But we live in a unique time, Dee. We live in a unique time, Orisha, where we have leaders who are not demonstrating the best behavior, where we have people who do look successful, Chef Bougie, who do look like they're not getting, I see you, Kiona, beloved, who do look like they aren't getting payback for their negative deeds. We often look at the rich, the wealthy, the successful, and question. But we could question the same thing about those around us who aren't growing, who aren't advancing. We could pose the same questions about karma. Greetings, Kiona, beloved. I didn't know if you were coming today or not.
Yes, I was here on the phone lines. It kept disconnecting, and then there's an outage with the internet here, and so I've been trying to get that fixed. But I'm here. I'm not going to leave y'all hanging. Love y'all.
Well, we certainly appreciate you. Is there anything that you can say today, or should I go ahead and answer Hoodoo Occultism's comment?
You can add his comment, but I just want to just remind people to please don't forget about this virus. What is happening to us is bad, but don't forget about this virus. Yesterday, for some strange reason, I felt like I breathed in something, and I've been inside. But the person around me had been sneezing a lot, and I've been bleaching down. I was cleaning the walls with bleach, but this particular room I didn't, and I went in and I started sneezing and just my nasal drip was just horrible, and I had to take some medicine and just overload on vitamins, and I had just had to remind myself that this virus is still lurking. So stay vigilant, stay proactive, but also stay covered up.
Yeah, I agree. And you absolutely have my prayers, and you on the altar. You already on the altar. The person that's sneezing, they've been out and about. And I know you can't.
I can hear you. The phone line's a little choppy.
I'm sorry. The person who's sneezing, have they been out and about? Do they work? Do they hit the street? Woo. You in my prayer?
Yeah, they're a security guard, and they work at a distribution center where truck drivers are coming in and out from across the country.
But typically, they shouldn't have to make physical contact, though, right?
they have to check them in at the gate. So,
Yeah.
you know, just talking and you know, maybe someone may spit when they speak. You know, I mean, this virus is still alive. It didn't go anywhere.
No, and certainly not no 2 weeks. Certainly not no 30 days.
No.
I mean, pick any day you want to count from. You know, because I've been counting from March 1st. But pick any day you want to count from. We've been through hell since March 1st. As a country, as states, cities, individually, we've been through hell and back since March 1st. So there's no way that this virus has now poof be gone. Ain't that kind of magic out there yet. It's going to be at least a year before they can get an antidote. Idea of stay at home was to flatten the curve, was to keep it from growing, to bring awareness to everyone that this virus was out there, to change our hygienic habits, you know, washing your hands, utilizing the antibacterials and sanitizer, you know, so that we would not continue to spread. But now people are going out. Listen, I was at the memorial yesterday, virtually. I was at the memorial yesterday. I saw one that had the mask on and she had it right here. What's that gonna do? What's that gonna do? And if the people behind you or next to you cough it in the room, you breathing it in. But she covering her mouth. I just didn't get it. I saw Jesse Jackson kept tugging at his mask, kept tugging on it. And you all have got to get proper covers. I don't accept, you know, you can use a handkerchief. You can use, you know, I don't accept that unless you're going to layer it up and put some coffee filters or some carbon filters in there. Let me show you something. Okay. If I go out at all, I'm prepared for warfare. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'm prepared for warfare. Okay. You know, I got my little Chinese hat. Of course, this is, you know, it's also protect you from UV light. Now they got these masks here, polyurethane. Now, what's that gonna do? What's that gonna do? You see how easy that is to slip down my nose? What's that gonna do? Right? So you gotta have something on. Now this has a carbon filter in it. The carbon filter slides in the back here. You can't see it because it's hidden behind this piece of cloth, but there's a carbon filter in here and a little vent, and I'll put that on. Okay, but even with this, it don't like my ears, so it'll move around. I have to keep pulling my ears up and adjusting it. Okay, so when I wear it, I put this one on top of it. This one too have a filter. Okay. This is how I went to the post office this morning. And it has Velcro in the back. This little brace right here locks it in place on your nose. So once you go out, this don't move. This don't move at all. Okay? This don't slip up. This don't slip down. This stay in place. And the idea, I know y'all can't hear me. This stays in place. It don't move. It don't slip up. It don't slip down. And I will wear at least two together. If I were going to wear the polyurethane, I would put another mask over it. This might be a good mask to wear, and then put your scarf apparatus over that. But I live in hurricane country. It's hurricane season. I got every kind of mask you can desire. I got them. These are the filters. These are the carbon filters, the P25, 2.5. I got these masks. These are what they wear at the hospital. Okay? I'm saving these in the event that we have to evacuate during a hurricane. And I'm in a car or a helicopter or a bus, and I'm forced to be around other people. I have one of these on, and then the fancier mask will be on top of it. You all can't play with this. You can't play with this. These were given away by the city of New Orleans. These are cotton, washable. These are created by Hanes Underwear Company, I believe. What I like about this is it has one kind of fabric on the inside that's comfortable. It has another kind of fabric on the outside that's supposed to capture and trap, you know. But then I would still put another mask on top of this. What's to stop you from getting too active, too busy, and that coming down? Or this pulling up? And also the idea of the mask is to keep you from touching your face. So if you're, you know, conscious of your hands and sanitizing and you're wearing a mask, the idea is it's not just to keep your germs from getting out or other people's germs from getting in, but to keep you from touching your face and contaminating your face with things that your hands might very well be exposed to. It's that time of year. Wear your bay leaves. Wear your bay leaves. I see y'all posting all kind of witchy rituals about prosperity and money and bay leaves. I love the idea that I live in the city of New Orleans where I can go and pull bay leaves off a tree and put them in a bag. Real bay leaves. Bay leaves are great not just for prosperity and money enrichment, but also for baths, cleansing baths. Yeah, that's that Virgo stuff, hoodoo occultism. That's that Labor Day, September 5th, 9566, 1966. I was also born at 11:33 at night. 11:33 at night. 1966, 11:33 at night. See all those double master numbers? Now, occultism, come on now. Master astrologer, come on now. The trees in the oxygen. DD, what's your question? What's your question specifically about the trees and the oxygen? Arisha asked about strong drink, alcohol on the altars. Okay, there's several reasons for that. I'm going to come back to Ogun and Ochosi and the police. But let me address alcohol, spirits. Some of us in this room a little bit older than others, we remember a time when there was spirits, where we call it spirits. And alcohol is believed to contain spirit. It can make you happy, it can make you laugh, it can make you angry drunk, it can make you do things that you can't remember. And the idea of locking something up in the fermentation process is also akin to how we trap spirit in a covey or trap spirit in a bottle. Your liquors have been distilled, have been refined, have been purified, have been filtered. And so a lot of what goes in it, you ain't really seeing. Gin, do you know what goes in gin? Oh my goodness. Beer. Have you ever been to Milwaukee? Have you ever smelled beer being processed, being made? Oh my God, it smelled wicked. It smelled wicked. So spirits, libations, there's a belief that when we spray a libation, the ancestors are able to capture that more. When we turn that into a vapor, they're able to capture that more. You also see us pouring liquor, pouring the libation, pouring coffee, pouring water on the ground as a symbolic response to spirit, as a way of acknowledging rebirth, regeneration, life through libation. But there's also that chemical process of producing alcohol and what alcohol is and how alcohol responds to humanity, which continues the presence of alcohol, and particularly in voodoo. Haitian voodoo, it's a lot of alcohol in Haitian voodoo. I've been to some Haitian ceremonies that went on all night. I've been to a Haitian ceremony that went on all weekend. And of course, there was a buffet of food, but there was also liquor. And even in the course of the ceremony, people would leave out and go and take a break, go and eat, go and smoke a cigarette, go and talk for 15 minutes, consume liquor socially, but then would still come back into the ceremony with the idea that spirit is going to come into the place. With that knowledge, looking at the voodoo ceremonies from Haiti that you see on YouTube, it's amazing. You see them in all their white or their blue or their colors, and the pitomatan is in place. The cow or the horse or the goat is in place, and people are moving around and dancing. And those videos sometimes are hours long, but you're only seeing a part of it. The last ceremony that we did here for Obatala lasted for a whole weekend. So it's amazing to see those people not act drunk, not act silly, not act outside themselves, yet we know that all this liquor is present. And you asked about Ogu. There's an Ogu never drunk. There's an Ogu never drunk. And that Ogu can drink and consume white liquor and will never get drunk, never fall out, never get sick, never act unnaturally or disproportionately in the ceremony. And that's one of the ways we test spirit. We test spirit with fire. We test spirit with alcohol. We test spirit by way of things that humanly are not possible, that normally humans could not do. Pepper, the ingestion of pepper, hot peppers. There's a legend around Marie Laveau putting three hot guinea peppers under her tongue in order to change the mind and spirit of a judge going into a criminal case here in New Orleans. And it was said that she prayed and did her work right up the street here from my house in the Catholic Church without any interference, and then went into the courthouse and placed those guinea peppers underneath the judge's chair, and won the case for her client. So we see not only just alcohol, but other natural substances used in the invocation of spirit, to do healing, to do battle, to do defense, but also to bring about truth, and justice. The question about using Ogu and Ochosi in relation to the police. First of all, let's be clear about the police. Who are the police? Police, you and I. Now, I know in some cities, some states, you got the all-white police force, perhaps, because all of y'all ain't white. You think you white. You ain't checked that DNA. But it appears like an all-white police force, or you got a minority of black officers. But look at what happened with the college students in Atlanta the other day. That was 4 black officers. Okay, so we have to be clear that when we make generalized targets and statements, black and white, Democrat, Republican, red and blue, and amplify those, individual qualities, we're negating so many other connections in the gray area that play a part in how racism, white supremacy, policing, police brutality, customer service, how all that is indeed played out. Ogu can call the police. Ogu can repel the police. Ogu is known for that. That's one of the names of Ogu. Is one who can call the police and repel it. Ochosi is a divine hunter who chooses a target, whose arrows always hit their mark. So even if I was thinking about how to create a better scenario with the police, around the police, for the police, I wouldn't be looking at Ogu and Ochosi. I would be looking at the head. I would be looking at Obatala. I would be looking at Yemaya, healing, balance, rebirth, renewal. I would be looking at Yansa. Oh yeah, sudden change, transformation, quick, right now, in this moment, and all those forces at work. One of the downfalls of people trying to learn and absorb these traditions without a mentor, without education, trying to read it in the books, is this notion that we choose one deity and who we feel comfortable with, who might represent our needs. You're looking for love, you might choose Oshun. These traditions don't work that way. And just like vitamins, you wouldn't just stack up on vitamin C. You wouldn't just stack up on vitamin A. You can't just stack up on vitamin D. And some of those vitamins and minerals can be toxic if they build up in your body. They have to be recycled. Others can be stored safely in your body. But spirit is the same way, y'all. We don't just work with one Orisha. You don't just work with one Loa. And different forces govern different areas of our life, even different areas of our body. So if we're looking at a system, the judicial system, the police, the judges, the politicians, the president, you'd have to get much more specific than Ogu and Ochosi. And you would need to choose a response, choose a result, be clear about what movement, because it's dangerous to invoke a spirit without a clear chore, without a clear assignment, especially those of you out there who are experimenting, playing around with demons and witchcraft. Those demons always require payment, always, always. And so it's dangerous to invoke any spirit really in a sort of general blind way without being specific about how, what kind of response are you expecting? What kind of response are you really looking for? Dee Harmon, are you referencing the protests, I can't breathe, or are you talking about you can't breathe wearing a mask? I need you to clarify that. Yeah, Bobby Hemmett got that from me and other voodoo practitioners. Libation is often sprayed in West Africa in voodoo. It's only poured in very specific circumstances under very specific traditions. Do they actually pour the libation? Now, what's the peppermint gum for? Because ain't nothing wrong with my breath. So what's the peppermint gum for, neophyte Bokor tourists, when you're wearing a mask? Tell us what's wearing the peppermint gum for. Or are you still talking about Dee Heyman's inability to breathe while wearing a mask? Yeah, it's actually much more comfortable, Dee, than you might think. This mask is, can you see that? It's almost like a bra or expensive lingerie. It's got this unique net So air passes through that. The filter, the 2.5, is what protects you from the dangerous stuff, the dust, the bacteria, etc. These vents help you to breathe. And I don't know if you could see it good on camera, but there's a little rubber disc. There's a little rubber disc. That's it right there. That's a rubber disc. And it actually, it's a bladder. It actually flexes when you breathe. So it's completely sealed out from outside air. But when you breathe, watch me breathe. Did you see how they would move, how they would flex? So you can actually breathe through it. Now, you might have a problem wearing this first and then putting that second mask over it. This net is a little bit tighter, so not as much passes through that, especially with the carbon filter. But I don't go anywhere, beloved. I don't go anywhere. I rarely go anywhere. To my bank, my post office box, all in the same location. And that's about once a month. And so I go and I come back. I'm not going to the store. I'm not going to Walmart. I'm not protesting. I'm supporting them. I'm helping them from behind the scenes, but I'm not going out there in the streets. So this array of masks is for any given situation that might come up. An emergency. If we have a hurricane and we have to leave the city, I'm gonna need every one of those masks because I don't know what environment I might be going into. And it's good that I have a few extra masks on hand to put on your face if you show up at my house with an appointment and you ain't got on no mask, you know. So I get it, Dee Dee, but I like Neophyte Bocour's idea about chewing, and maybe not gum. I mean, I got peppermint plant. You can actually chew peppermint leaves and get that same, you know, effect of chewing peppermint gum. But that's great. That's great. Thank you so much for your questions, your comments, your requests. 845-277-9143 is our phone number, 845-277-9143. I want y'all to know I've never done this before, stand up and do a show. I actually feel a whole lot better. I'm probably going to keep my computer elevated like this indefinitely. I will probably never sit down at a computer again. I just spend way too many hours in the chair. Now, of course, when we do divination, we sit on the floor, and that has to happen. But the rest of the time, I'm up and I'm doing ritual and I'm moving, and I can come and type comfortably and broadcast comfortably at this elevated level. And it's better for my body. It's better for my circulation. It's better for my legs. It's better for my sciatic nerve. So I invite you all to try this. Get out of that chair. Get out of that chair. If you can set your computer up, put it on the kitchen table maybe. If you have a laptop, put it on top of a milk crate, on top of your kitchen table, or on top of your dresser. But elevate your computer so that you're standing and not spending all of those office hours sitting in a chair. So this is office equipment technically. We've made this out to be a toy in the last 30 years. But once upon a time, this was for people who were about business, who were making money, who were operating in offices. And they spent a lot of time sitting down. Secretaries, receptionists, bosses, executives. And so now we know better. So I'm doing better, and I want you to do better too. And so I won't be sitting in this chair. I won't be broadcasting in the chair. I won't be spending hours doing consultations from the chair. Now that I have more space, consultation has its own room now. I have a divination room now. And so those who come here will see that new space. Eventually, maybe in the next, I don't know, maybe in the next week or so, I might show you some of what's going on on the other side of the wall. But I'm improving, and I want you all to improve too. I want you all to be conscious, to be erudite, to be healthy, to be well when all of this is over, when the new normal has settled in on us. I'm calling for my prayer warriors and my spirit warriors and, and my practitioners to really do battle with me and for me, in something bigger than ourselves, in something bigger than our carnal needs and desires, which indeed can and will be filled and fulfilled. So be different, be yourself, be extraordinary, be neighborly, even from a distance. Say hello, say good morning, be peace, be hopeful, be creative, be calm, be present. That allowed me a moment to be present, to be still, to be kind, to be well, to be safe, to be happy. Be grateful, be grateful, be thankful, be patient, be prayerful, be mindful, be inquisitive, be intelligent, be discerning, be wise, be erudite, be practical, be conscious, be conscious. In this present moment in time space, be conscious, be whole, be aware, be love, be alert, be careful, be proactive, be available, be peace. I can't say that enough. Be peace, be still, stay home. I love you. I love you all. I love each and every one of you. I'm looking forward to our future together. I'm looking forward to the continued growth of the family, of the community, of this sacred circle together. I look forward to seeing you and being here with you again on Monday at high noon U.S. Central Standard Time, remembering and understanding that all is truly and indeed a blessing if you can just see beyond the veils. Asheo. Putting on my Gregory suit.
A dash of cayenne to the room. Gonna put on my Gregory suit.
Boy, gumbo, hot and steady. Don't care if Freddie ready.
Gonna bring at that old cemetery.
Down on Claiborne Way.
She's buried.
Love you too, D.D. Harmon. Love you. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Build a fire.
Oh, double.
When the black cat scratches at you under a full moon that's blue. Black top hat, black suit too. They will ride, let them move this through. I'm gonna get them balls out the graveyard for you. Can't see my eyes like these two.
Yes, Andrea, yes.
Cayenne too. Gonna put on my Greek suit. Yeah. Black top hat, that Moses did. I'm gonna get them balls out the graveyard for you. Can't see my eyes, black she's too. Going free at the old cemetery. Down on Claiborne, where she's buried. A dash of cayenne to the roof. Don't put on my grease.